My name is Henri Colt, and this presentation is part of Bronchoscopy Academy, an ongoing competency-based curriculum in flexible bronchoscopy. The goal of this work is to improve procedural understanding, anatomical recognition, and clinical judgment while helping reduce patient suffering associated with unequal expertise and inconsistent training. In this lecture, we will review common bronchial abnormalities encountered during bronchoscopy. We will focus on systematic recognition of mucosal abnormalities, airway obstruction, bronchial strictures, anatomic variants, fistulas, and malignant lesions, while emphasizing the descriptive language required for accurate bronchoscopic reporting. The bronchial mucosa should be examined carefully throughout every bronchoscopic procedure. Normal mucosa appears smooth, glistening, and pale pink. Abnormalities may be subtle and can provide important diagnostic clues. Examples include mucosal pitting, ulcerations, inflammatory changes, herpetic lesions, malignant infiltration, necrotizing tracheobronchitis, and infiltrative disorders such as amyloidosis. When abnormalities are present, describe their location, extent, appearance, and associated findings, such as friability, bleeding, nodularity, or airway narrowing. Careful observation of the mucosa is one of the most valuable diagnostic skills in bronchoscopy. Airway obstruction may occur for many reasons, including foreign bodies. In this example, retained windshield glass following trauma obstructs a segmental bronchus. Foreign bodies may present with cough, recurrent infection, localized wheezing, hemoptysis, or persistent radiographic abnormalities. During bronchoscopy, document the location, degree of obstruction, surrounding inflammation, and any associated granulation tissue. Fungal infection may produce a variety of bronchoscopic appearances. Aspergillus can appear as adherent plaques, obstructing debris, endobronchial masses, or thick secretions causing partial airway obstruction. The bronchoscopist should carefully document the appearance and extent of involvement while obtaining appropriate specimens for microbiologic evaluation. This example demonstrates complete left main bronchial obstruction secondary to inflammation and chronic fibrotic stenosis associated with granulomatosis with polyangiitis, formerly known as Wegener's granulomatosis. The important lesson is that airway obstruction is not always caused by tumor. Inflammatory and autoimmune diseases may produce severe narrowing and complete airway occlusion. Accurate description of the morphology and severity of the obstruction is essential for diagnosis and treatment planning. Here we see severe inflammatory narrowing of the left main bronchus in a patient with tuberculosis. The bronchus is nearly occluded, and purulent secretions are draining through the residual lumen. Whenever bronchial stenosis is encountered, describe the location, length, appearance, and estimated degree of obstruction. Associated inflammation, secretions, and distal airway consequences should also be documented. The right middle lobe bronchus is particularly vulnerable to obstruction and stenosis. In patients with recurrent middle lobe infiltrates, bronchoscopy is often performed to evaluate for structural abnormalities, such as strictures, tumors, foreign bodies, or external compression. Recognition of middle lobe narrowing is important because even modest obstruction may impair drainage and contribute to recurrent infection. Right middle lobe syndrome refers to persistent or recurrent collapse, inflammation, or infection involving the middle lobe. Potential causes include extrinsic compression from lymph nodes, endobronchial tumors, chronic infection, congenital abnormalities, and volume loss. The bronchoscopist should determine whether the middle lobe bronchus is patent, narrowed, extrinsically compressed, or completely obstructed. Not all airway obstruction represents fixed structural disease. A mucus plug may produce near total occlusion of a bronchus and can mimic more serious pathology, both clinically and radiographically. In this patient, fungal stains and cultures were positive for aspergillus. The bronchoscopist should always distinguish between removable intraluminal obstruction and fixed airway narrowing. Focal bronchial narrowing is a common finding during bronchoscopy. The cause may be inflammatory, post-infectious, congenital, neoplastic, traumatic, or occasionally unknown. Whenever focal narrowing is encountered, carefully document its location, appearance, and severity, and whether there is evidence of associated mucosal abnormality or external compression. Recognition of post-operative anatomy is an essential bronchoscopic skill. In this example, we see a left lower lobectomy stump. The bronchoscopist must be able to recognize surgical anatomy and distinguish expected post-operative findings from recurrent disease or complications. Knowledge of normal post-operative appearances prevents misinterpretation and unnecessary intervention. Occasionally, lymph nodes adjacent to the airway become visible bronchoscopically. These may produce focal bulging, distortion of airway anatomy, or external compression. Recognition of their relationship to surrounding bronchial structures helps guide diagnostic sampling and interpretation of imaging studies. Bronchoscopic manipulation itself may produce airway injury. Suction trauma commonly appears as localized erythema, mucosal abrasion, or small areas of hemorrhage. Recognition of procedure-related changes is important because they may otherwise be mistaken for disease. Prior injury may leave permanent evidence within the airway. Scarring, distortion, and focal narrowing may result from previous infection, mechanical trauma, surgical intervention, radiation, or inflammatory disease. The bronchoscopist should assess whether scarring is stable or contributing to clinically significant obstruction. Telangiectasias appear as small dilated superficial blood vessels within the bronchial mucosa. Although often incidental findings, they may occasionally represent a source of hemoptysis. Whenever evaluating a patient with airway bleeding, careful inspection for vascular abnormalities should be part of the examination. A thorough understanding of normal bronchial anatomy is essential before abnormalities can be recognized. Segmental anatomy may vary considerably among individuals. Some bronchial segments may be absent, incompletely formed, or have unusual branching patterns. Another example includes an unformed medial basal segment here in the right lower lobe bronchus, and here an unformed subapical segment also within the right lower lobe. Recognition of these variants prevents confusion during bronchoscopy and improves procedural navigation. A bronchoesophageal fistula represents an abnormal communication between the airway and esophagus. Bronchoscopically, an opening may be seen within the bronchial wall. In this image, an esophageal stent is visible through the defect. These fistulas may result from malignancy, radiation therapy, infection, trauma, or prior intervention. Careful documentation of size and location is critical because management usually requires multidisciplinary planning. Prior radiation therapy may produce significant airway injury. Radiation-related fibrosis, scarring, stenosis, necrosis, and secondary malignancies can all alter bronchial anatomy. Sometimes tumors might swell, causing obstruction, as in this case of a sarcoma after external beam radiation therapy. Knowledge of the patient's treatment history is essential when interpreting these findings during bronchoscopy. This example demonstrates an infiltrating adenocarcinoma involving the left upper lobe bronchus. Bronchoscopically, the lesion appears raised, indurated, and abnormal in color and texture. Infiltrative lesions may be more subtle than exophytic tumors and require careful inspection to recognize. Squamous cell carcinoma frequently presents as a nodular lesion projecting into the airway lumen. The lesion may appear irregular, friable, and can be highly vascular. Documentation should include the site of origin, degree of obstruction, extent of mucosal involvement, and any associated bleeding. Carcinoid tumors often appear as smooth, highly vascular endobronchial masses. Although typically less aggressive than many other airway malignancies, they may produce significant obstruction and recurrent infection. Because these lesions are frequently vascular, biopsy should be approached thoughtfully and with appropriate preparation in case of complications. Small cell carcinoma is often associated with submucosal and infiltrative growth patterns. In some cases, nodular lesions may be present, but more subtle findings, such as airway distortion, thickened longitudinal fibers, mucosal irregularity, or volume loss, may provide the first clue to underlying malignancy. The bronchoscopist must learn to recognize both obvious tumors and the more subtle manifestations of infiltrative disease. In this lecture, we reviewed common bronchial abnormalities encountered during bronchoscopy, including mucosal disease, airway obstruction, strictures, postoperative anatomy, anatomic variants, fistulas, vascular abnormalities, and malignant lesions. Bronchoscopy Academy is part of an ongoing competency-based approach to bronchoscopy education. Our goal is to reduce patient suffering caused by unequal procedural expertise, inconsistent training, and preventable error. Additional educational resources, reflective essays, and narrated lectures are available at bronchoscopy.org and henricolt.substack.com.